team member conflict? 1, make it clear. 2, make it safe. And 3, make it their responsibility up to a point. 3 basic suggestions, actionable and immediate. And if you like this approach, please like or subscribe. So, the first thing, make it clear. I'm sure a couple of you are saying to yourself, Zimski, there is nothing unclear about whether or not there's a conflict. And actually, I beg to differ, but it's not actually what I meant. Here's what I mean by make it clear. For a number of folks on your team, it's entirely possible that the word conflict really, when it gets into their brain, translates to the word combat. Conflict is defined as a difference of opinion, of perspective, of viewpoint, of context, of education. It's just difference, okay? And it doesn't have to be combat. In projects where conflict management and conflict resolution management become particularly important, though, is the fact that there is always something at stake. So, make it clear. This is conflict, not combat. And that regardless of what is at stake, our job as the project team is to solve the problem, not necessarily to make sure that our perspective is the one that wins out. Okay? Suggestion number 2, make it safe. You see, one of the beautiful benefits of conflict behaviors managed well is that we get the ideas and the thought processes and the collaboration that happens because people have differences of opinion, because people have differences of approach, and because people have different levels of experience, education, and viewpoints. That's awesome. After all, how much collaboration can you expect if everybody has the same perspective? And how much innovation can you expect if everybody has the same perspective? This means, though, well, it's got to be safe. It's got to be safe for someone who has a vastly different approach to say, sorry, but I disagree. Or, sorry, and I want to make sure that I'm clear about this. This is where I believe you're saying we should go, and have we considered this as well? Or, before we go forward, I'd just like to find out, is there a particular reason why such and such an approach hasn't been considered yet in this conversation? In other words, make it safe for a minority opinion to be aired. And by minority opinion, I just mean something that's a little different than what everybody else in the room is talking about. And here's the interesting thing. Typically what can happen isn't that the minority opinion changes everybody else. But what can happen is that the minority opinion can refine the majority opinion, can tweak it. Now, sometimes it does change everything else. But mostly, we want that input. We want to know what the very smart people on our team are thinking about and how they're thinking about it, what their rationale is for what's going on. So, make sure that you deal with it that way by making it safe for them to actually bring it up to begin with. Okay? Third point, make it their responsibility to a point. Now remember, leadership-driven project management includes consideration of something called ownership. It is the heart and power of true delegation. And that means that your people are trusted to want to do it right, to be willing to bring problems to the team if they can't solve them themselves, and they have the authority, the power, if you will, to solve the conflicts between them. Sometimes that doesn't work. And at that point, built into the ground rules or into the team charter has to be a point that can be clearly understood where they need to bring it to you. And not only must the parameters for kicking it up the food chain, kicking it across to the project manager, I don't care what you call it, not only must the parameters for that decision be clear, but also too must be very, 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 very clear. We will abide by that decision. That doesn't mean that has to be conflict resolution by fiat. Because sometimes when I get involved, the conversation opens up just a little bit, not always by me, by the way. And all of a sudden, we're able to craft a solution that is greater than the sum of its parts and is going to be a lot more effective. Now, that doesn't mean it wasn't right in front of them to begin with. It probably was. But maybe all they needed was to change the dynamic just enough so that they could see it. And as a leader, sometimes that is your most important role, to be the facilitator, not the decider. This video was brought to you by the Leadership Driven Project Management Academy. I'm KimiKSP, and I'm delighted that you joined us today. Thanks very much.